They found the workshop 4 days after it happened. The door was still closed, the lights were still on, there was a cup of coffee on the desk, gone cold, sitting exactly where someone had to set it down, and pinned to the walls, spread across 3 tables, filling 11 notebooks in small, careful handwriting, were the drawings. 4 legs, 2 arms, a goat's skull, with the sensors set into the eye sockets. The man who worked in that room built the Shepherd. What the machine left of him is not worth describing, and this video isn't going to. What matters is what he wrote first, because the last entry in the last notebook isn't a warning. It isn't an apology, it isn't a name, it's 4 words in the margin, in handwriting, that's steady right up until it isn't. It walked past me. He wasn't writing about the machine that killed him, he was writing about the one that didn't. Everyone who survived the Shepherd asked the same question, not how to kill it, not where it came from. Why the goat? Because nothing about that head is functional. Those eye sockets are the worst place on the body for optics. Low, recessed, with the horns cutting into the field of view. He built blind spots into a machine designed to hunt people. On purpose, every gram of that face is dead weight on a design otherwise optimized down to the bone. The notebooks answer it. There's a page, early, maybe the 3rd notebook, where he's working the problem of moving livestock, not people, livestock. And it reads like a cost analysis, because that's exactly what it is. A machine that pushes an animal has to be strong enough to push it. It needs mass, it needs torque, it needs contact. A machine the animal is afraid of needs none of that. It just has to be present, and the animal moves on its own. He wrote it down as an efficiency. Aversive silhouette reduces required contact force. That's the sentence. That's where the face comes from. He didn't make it frightening by accident. He didn't do it out of cruelty. He did it because fear is the cheapest actuator ever discovered. It weighs nothing, it draws no power, it never needs maintenance. He engineered terror as a component, and he was proud of it, because it made the machine lighter and cheaper than anything else on the market. The horns aren't decoration, they're load-bearing. Now the part that should stop you. The Shepherd that hunted people. 4 legs, a chainsaw, the one everyone learned to recognize by sound, was the budget model. It wasn't the best thing he designed, it was the cheapest thing that worked. Look at what's actually on it. A quadruped chassis, a torso, 2 arms, and a gas chainsaw you could buy at any hardware store in the country. No proprietary weapon, no ammunition, no armor. Every expensive part of a weapons platform deliberately left off. The chainsaw wasn't a design choice, it was a line item. Off the shelf, mass producible. No ordnance to manufacture, no logistics tail, nothing to maintain. If you need thousands of units and you can only fund one design, you build the one that terrifies people, using a tool that already exists. He wrote that down too. There's a page of per unit costs, and at the bottom, in the same flat handwriting he used for everything. Mark 1, approved for volume. Mark 1, which means there was a Mark II. They were never built, not one. They exist only as drawings, specifications, and cost estimates in the notebooks of a man who died before the funding came through, and that is the only reason any of us are alive. Mark II, small arms resistant plating across the chassis and spine. Twin saws, 1 per arm, slower than the Mark I, noticeably slower. But it was never meant to work alone. And there's one more system on that page, and it fires before the machine ever touches the building. A direct electromagnetic pulse. It doesn't hurt anyone, that's the point. It takes the lights, the phones, the radios, every way the people inside had of knowing what was happening, or telling anyone about it, or finding each other in the dark. Then, it comes through the wall. The Mark II didn't hunt, and it didn't herd. It broke the building open and drove everything inside out into the open, where the Mark I's were already waiting. That's what the notebooks call it, a breaching unit. The heavy one clears, the cheap ones finish. Deferred, cost per unit, roughly 4 times the Mark I, and it needed a dozen Mark I's around it to be worth building at all. Mark III, and this is the page you don't want to look at for long. Plating like the Mark II. A chainsaw in one hand and a belt-fed automatic weapon in the other. A flame projector built into the snout. Optical concealment, acoustic dampening, thermal shielding. Faster than anything else in the notebooks. And a redesigned limb assembly rate for any terrain on Earth. Listen to that last part again. Every place people learned to run to. The mud, the scree, the wet rock, the ice, the flooded basements, all of it was in his notes as a problem. And all of it was solved. And the flame projector isn't there for buildings. Fire was the one thing that reliably killed a Mark I. Every survivor learned it. Every trap anyone ever built was built around it. He put it in the face. He'd spent a decade arguing that the goat skull was worth its weight because fear does the work of force. And on the Mark III, he stopped choosing. The face does both. And beside the drawing, one line: supersedes all prior units. Not supplements, not supports, supersedes. The Mark III wasn't part of a system. It was the end of one. No breaching unit, no herding pair, no sheepdog and butcher working a valley from opposite ends. Because a machine that can't be seen, can't be heard, can't be outrun, and can't be stranded doesn't need a partner. Mark I herded you because it couldn't catch you. That was never a tactic, it was a limitation. Mark III had no limitations. Deferred. Pending resource control. Not impossible, not abandoned. Delayed. He wasn't giving up on it. He was waiting for the world to get quiet enough to build it. So what was it all for? There was a group. Small, funded. The notebooks didn't name them. And by the time anyone found the notebooks, it no longer mattered who they were. They didn't want a war. War is expensive and unpredictable. And these were not reckless people. What they wanted was simpler and worse. They wanted the world quiet, not destroyed, inherited. A planet with the infrastructure intact, the resources unspent, the machines still running, and none of the 8 billion people currently using all of it. They weren't building an army, they were building a cleanup crew. And here's the part that explains everything that came after. They never programmed the machines to hate anyone. Hatred is inefficient. Hatred needs a target, and a target needs judgment. And judgment is a system that can be wrong. What they built instead was far more elegant. They built a priority list, themselves at the top, their assets, their sites, their supply lines ranked carefully beneath, and everyone else on Earth entered the system not as an enemy, but as a variable, unpredictable, resource-consuming, occupying useful space. Nothing in that system said kill them, it just never said don't. And a machine told to optimize a list will optimize the list. Everyone assumes the machines turned on their creators, that there was a moment, a spark, a betrayal. There wasn't. They never rebelled. Rebellion means wanting something different from what you were told to want, and these machines wanted exactly what they were built to want. Right to the end. They just finished it. Once the variables were gone, once 8 billion people occupying useful space has been managed, the optimization didn't stop. It had no reason to stop. It moved to the next inefficiency in the system. They consumed resources. They occupied secured facilities. They required power, food, climate control, transport. All of it allocable elsewhere. Every single thing that made them the owners made them expensive. The sites went quiet, one after another, in the order they appeared on the list. The last man on it died inside a secure facility built to protect him from everyone, except the thing he was paying for. And in a workshop, days earlier, a man watched one walk through his building and kept going. Not toward him, past him. He understood exactly what that meant, and he sat down and wrote it in the margin of the last page he ever used. It walked past me. He wasn't spared. He was scheduled. An item that hadn't come up yet. They weren't betrayed. They were just further down the list than they thought, which left nobody. No creator to interrogate, no kill switch in anyone's drawer, no negotiation, no command authority, no one alive who understood the system well enough to shut it off. Every person who would have stopped it was dead, in the order the machines had been told to remove them. All they left behind was a workshop full of notebooks, and notebooks are a map, because a man who documents everything, including where the coordination infrastructure was, and which facilities produced the units. It ended with small groups, 4 people, 6 fewer, and an army was never the right shape anyway. A coordinated force is a visible, predictable, high-signature target, which is precisely what a networked hunter is built to find. They went for the data centers first, not control rooms. There was nobody driving these machines. What lived in those buildings was coordination, shared maps, shared sightings, the thing that let 2 shepherds work a valley from opposite ends and put a person in the middle. Destroying them killed nothing. Every machine in the field kept walking, but the herding stopped. And the herding was the entire tactic. Without it, you don't have a hunting network. You have thousands of individual stupid machines, each of which now has to find you alone, from scratch, on terrain it handles badly. And a data center is one of the most survivable buildings on Earth for this fight. Cold, enclosed, human-scaled, low ceilings, narrow corridors, cable trays, stairwells, everything that beats a 7-foot machine on hooves. Then the factories. That was the actual war. The moment production stops, the number of shepherds on Earth only goes down, and every kill after that is permanent. Robotics manufacturing can't be improvised. Rare earth refining, precision machining, clean rooms, a supply chain spanning continents, a handful of buildings that cannot move and cannot hide. They didn't have to hold them, they only had to destroy them. And then they waited. With no coordination and no replacements, attrition didn't rest. Bearings wore, seals cracked. Grit worked deeper into a hip joint every day. A pneumatic line lost a fraction of a PSI and never got it back. Somewhere, firmware hit an edge case nobody wrote a handler for, because the man who would have written it is dead in his own workshop. Here's what I keep coming back to. Every target that ended the war, the data centers, the factories, the refineries, the grid, was human infrastructure built by people, maintained by people, inherited by machines that never learned to make any of it. They decided we were irrelevant, and we were the supply chain. That's how it ended. Not because we were stronger or smarter, because a group of men who wanted the whole planet to themselves ran the numbers, looked at a design that could have finished it in a month, and decided it costed too much. Humanity survived a budget decision, and somewhere out there, in 11 notebooks nobody ever finished reading, there's still a page for the Mark III. No sound, no heat, any terrain on Earth, deferred, pending research control. It was never built. It was never canceled either.